purpose of this video is to introduce you to the seventh in a series of videos about goings-on in Delaware County, Oklahoma. The purpose of this introduction is to tell you how it came about, a little bit about the people in the video, why I did it like I did it, and it's a little bit different than usual. So to explain, I'm going to try to start putting short introductions to the videos so I can tell you a little bit more about the purpose or how they came about, why I did it like I did, especially in this case, which is a little bit different than usual, and a little bit more maybe about the people that are in the videos. A couple of years after my arrest, it took them 5 years to drop charges. They're so incompetent. Kenny Wright and Nic Lelecas. I began showing the public videos of exculpatory evidence, medical records, pictures of the wounds, a whole bunch of crimes, altering witness statements, stuff that went on during the investigation. I'm a private investigator, former law enforcement officer, and a lot more intelligent than these two outsiders, Harlan Moore and Gail Wells, that tried to frame me. And the same stuff I showed the public, I'd also showed New England Nic Lelecas, another outsider from Boston, no less. Didn't matter. But after I started showing this stuff on making videos, people began contacting me about every week or every other week or so with things that they had, problems that they had. They couldn't get the police to respond to. After my charges were dropped, people began contacting me maybe 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more, every other day. I published a book about 6 or 7 months later. After I did that, people started calling me all the time. Yesterday I got 2 different calls about a sexual offender, and not some street dirtbag. He's one of the elite in our community. It doesn't matter if you're a child rapist. Kenny Wright is not going to prosecute you if he thinks you're politically valued. Case in point is this pervert, which I'll get to in video 7 part 2. That's what I originally started my involvement in helping the community. And here's some of the cases I've been involved in lately. And video 7 is about some of the cases I've been involved with lately. As many of you know, our dirty Sheriff Harlan Moore had me framed for attempted murder. One of the ways the courts determine malicious conduct from just being stupid, like Gail Wells is also, you can tell by how bad he screwed up the framing, is violation of police procedures. If they're violating police procedures over and over again, then it's more than likely that they're deliberately screwing someone, not just screwing up themselves. Of course, misconduct doesn't have to be deliberate, according to the courts. But rather than drop the case, DA Kenny Wright, who's not from here, just like the prosecutor's not from here, and the dirty sheriff and the dirty cop, none of them are from here, they doubled down. The prosecution did. I know you've heard the story a lot, but I tell it again in the video 7, which is actually part 1 of 2 of the cases I've been working on. So you can compare that to this most recent case that I've worked on. In both cases, we have a violent felon that could have and should have and just sent away from our community. In the case I'm getting ready to show you about, the violent felon, the violent felon committed a crime that he could have gotten life for and would never have to see him again. You got to remember, Country Kenny Wright's not from here, and he's not interested in about getting the dirt bags out of here. He wants them to work with the sheriff so he can snitch on other people, so he can make more arrests, fill the jails up, and look like he's doing something. And you'll see all this. I'll prove it. Now, this is a little bit different because I've redacted more names than usually I will. Usually I'll redact maybe the victim's name or something like that. But I also want him to know that I'm on the case. And the lawyer that this girl hired, who didn't tell her any of this, either needs to learn the law or just listen to this so he knows what to argue in court, if it goes that far. but I tell you the story of what happened to me and what happened to her. She's redacted in pink. Her idiot husband is redacted in blue. He's a Georgia meth felon, and in order for me to prove that, the only thing I can do that's easy, other than getting the regular documents like I always do if it's an Oklahoma case, is by getting the Georgia records. I'm not going to mail off and have that done. I could take a screenshot, which normally I'd do, but if I did that, in order to protect his wife, I'd have to blot out his name and his picture and everything else, so you might as well just believe me, he's a felon from Georgia. He has a felony in Georgia. And then you'll see where he came here, commits burglary, and he's a violent prick. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. And remember, a burglary, just like the guy that I shot, when you burglarize someone, you're busting down a structure, a dwelling, or where people are in at the time. It's not like most dopers around here. They'll hang out and they'll scope out a house and figure out people's routines and wait till they're gone out here in the country, and they'll go invade and steal stuff. No, that takes a little more balls to go in there when people are in there. And this guy grabbed a gun away from what he thought was a gun. It's a pellet gun, but it's a replica gun. Took it away from the guy that pointed at him. So, of course, he's dealing with meth creeps, not paratroopers. So, go take that in perspective. But anyway, that's the deal with those two guys. The deputy, I blacked his name out. He didn't do anything wrong, number one. But in my case, he actually did his job. And I've gone my way again to praise most of the law enforcement around here. The dirty ones, the real creeps, or the imports like Harlan Moore and Gail Wells. And the people they hire. The deputy in this case is lieutenant. On my investigation, he came out and actually took pictures of the pickup truck that these dopers I caught trespassing on my land that attacked me. They took a truck out there, parked it on my property, and didn't have tags on it. And this guy took pictures of the tags, and he put it in the police report of the truck, noted that in the police report they didn't have tags on it. Which might seem, well, that's just normal. Well, it means a lot when someone's getting framed, to me. Because I can show that, yeah, when I saw these guys on my property, they had a truck there, they didn't have tags on it, which is a sign of criminal behavior. But in Oklahoma, you can tags on their car. I'm going to link to a video I did on Oklahoma citizens arrest. You need to watch it. So, like I tell again in the story, in my case, Dirty Sheriff Harlan Moore, who's retired 28 years out of Colorado being a cop, sent short or soft for Gail Wells to frame me for attempted murder in 2014 after I shot this violent felon, Daryl Philpott, who had these warrants and this felony history. And it's not just those three. I also linked to his rap sheet. I made a music video of his rap sheet. It's interesting. And he attacked me with a bottle, and I shot him. The follow-up to that was surreal at the time because I was arrested. Of course, the people are not from here, so they didn't know me, didn't recognize my name. My father has the exact same name. He's been a superintendent at Afton and at Oaks, and he was a high school principal at Concord and Grove. He has, and the reason I'm saying that is because he's been an educator over thousands of kids who are now adults and have children, and they all recognize my name, and they know me, and they vote, and they know what kind of person I am and who I am. So anyway, all these foreigners that have invaded came after this, came after me, framed me, put me in jail, wouldn't let it go when I proved them otherwise, but they did it at the expense of a violent felon, just like this other prick. Now, Kenny does this every day, and you can go down to the courts if you want to really get depressed and watch these clowns, what they do in the courts in Delaware County all day long. It's catch somebody do something bad, especially a felony, tell them we'll dismiss charges if you'll become an informant, put them down on the street, and it happens again, and it happens again. And it's not a big deal to the people that do it. They'll get high with someone knowing very well that if that guy gets busted, he'll turn on me. Unless you happen to be a snitch, you'll have to turn on someone else. But the whole thing's a facade. there's a book written about the snitch-based prosecution, what we have here, informant, what we have here, by John Grisham, best-selling author who's an attorney. It's called The Innocent Man. Netflix just made it into a movie. This is becoming the norm in rural. The book that Grisham wrote was about rural Oklahoma and Ada. This is becoming the norm. To clarify, I didn't say that every one of Harlan Moore's foreign hires were bad. It's just that there's been a close to 400% turnover rate, a local government worker told me, in the Delaware County Sheriff's Office since he's been there, and Harlan Moore rarely replaces people with locals. And you've got to understand, he's not from here, he doesn't have our values. He was a cop for 28 years in Colorado, which is a lot different when it comes to your right to self-defense and guns and things like that. And if you're not from here, when you hire a homeboy, he's going to have split loyalties between his community and you, meaning, and Harlan Moore, or people like him. That's why he fills them up from people from the city who don't know the families and the neighbors and the people that they're dealing with in the community. And I've explained that in the book to a degree. But I just wanted to clarify that not every one of them that he's hired is bad. As far as I know, at least one of them's a likable guy. I've talked to him, a couple of them. Likable. Don't know if they're dirty or not, but probably not. And also, it's probably a little bit hard on that attorney, that girl's attorney, when I said that he needed to learn the law, because he didn't explain it to the girl. And maybe because he thought that she was too stupid or drug-addled to understand the strategy with your clients. And like I said, I saw that popped out on me as I read it for the first time, just comparing the police report to the charges. And so, you know, he could have and he should have looked at that and told the girl, well, this is the deal, you know, but how much money are you going to be able to bilk? I'm not saying that this is backdoor Connor. This is what he would do. How much money are you going to bilk out of someone by saying, you know, well, this isn't a big deal. And backdoor does say that until you give him $10,000, and he'll tell you what a horribly complicated case it is, and it's going to take thousands of more to defend you, depending on who you are. One last thing, I want to point out that I never said that the wife in this case was a pillar of the community or even a productive member of the community or a good person, or that she wasn't a menace to the community or to her own children. Any other person, and I would have shown her name and her loser husband's. The point was, though, that once again, Kenny Wright is charging false charges he knows he can't win, which they're not supposed to do, prosecutors aren't. And one of them he knows that she is not guilty of, and that the snitch is, the felon snitch is. So she's not a felon yet. He's trying to, you know, give her 5 charges so she'll plead, maybe down to 1. Then she's in the system. Back door.
Well, we can't buy liquor, so we make speed. We can't buy beer, we grow weed.